Greetings YouTube, this is Sixus, and in this video I'm going to discuss my top 10 favorite archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh! And as you can see on the screen, we're starting off with number 10, Jeopardy! So, Jeopardy I thought was very interesting ever since Declan Akiba used them in Arc 5 for the first time, just because they could just do so much. Being able to bring out fusions, synchros, and Xyz, which he managed to do in multiple of his duels, a lot of times in just one turn, which is definitely impressive for a deck. And then he implemented all of the pendulums, which just added even more to it, and because of all of these very different summoning mechanics, I would just refer to this as the Jack of all trades deck, because it seems like it does a bit of everything except for ritual. In fact, the only deck that does that even comes close to doing the amount this can do is Odd Eyes, which interestingly was used by the protagonist of Arc 5. Now, getting into this, there is well, they're all Dark Fiends, so great synergy there. You got a lot of Darkness, which actually combos well with DD Ghost, so you got some automatic synergy. Trade in, you got 10s, and, sorry, 8s, and also they, just before being in the graveyard, then in the extra deck. Yeah, strange enough, out of all the stuff they do really well, like the synchros and the fusions, they don't really do pendulums very well. Kind of odd, given that it was Arc 5, and that's kind of like the big focus of that. But yeah, we got Source Line, which confuses someone using materials from your hand, and you can pass it from your graveyard to bring out a double D monster from your hand. So effectively, this is your pendulum summon for the deck. Yeah, just special from the hand. They did pendulum summon so secondarily that they made a card to just do the same thing, but easier. Necro Slime to bash from the graveyard in order to do a fusion summon. The slimes are amazing. Lamia is an amazing tuner, which due to the bast effect of Ghost can just bring either of these cards back from the graveyard, back from the bast pile, so you can use their effects again. Now let's get on to the what I think is very interesting, just how vague the names are. You can tell that there wasn't much of a idea going forward at the beginning, as to how they were going to name it, because you've got a bunch of names that are historical figures. You got Caesar, Beowulf, Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Gilgamesh. You got all these different ones that are just, historical figures, most of them heroes or warriors. But then you get to all these apocalyptic names like Ragnarok, Doom King Armageddon, now available in 3 flavors apparently. Then you've got Apocalypse. There was one named Apocalypse, I just don't have it here at the moment. Yeah, so many apocalyptic names. They're just all over the place with that. Then you've got the Savants, which are named after inventors. Thomas Edison, Sir Isaac Newton, Copernicus, Nikola Tesla. It's just like, we've got inventors, we've got the apocalypse, we've got historical figures, we've got generic monsters like slimes, and ogres. Oh, and of course the Northros. And if you thought that wasn't real enough, then we got the Dark Contract, so apparently we're running a business and have to send out contracts to what else but other Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters, such as the King of Yo-Yo Kai, the Entities, and the Swamp King. Now, the Swamp King and the Entities actually make sense. You make a deal with a monster that deals with fusion or to do a fusion summon. Makes sense. Entity is all about being different types of summons, fusing Synchro Xyz. So it makes sense to make a deal with them to give you effects regarding Fuse and Synchro and Xyz. But Yami Makai only has something to do with Pinlums, which does not make much sense because, well, all the cards featured on this card are very old monsters, 2 normal monsters and a union. So I just don't understand the relevance of that one, but it's nice to see Yami Makai get referenced. It's just so all over the place in terms of both name and the various playstyles, but at the same time the basic idea is very simple. You got consistency cards, Kepler can search out your consistency card, and all of it's about paying life points, paying off your contracts, which can be dealt with via various monsters that you won, such as Leonidas, Orthros, Siegfried, and Oracle King Diok. So yeah, at least the actual basic idea is simple enough, but it just gets more and more varied from there. And moving on to number 9, we have Cyber Angel. Remember what I said about Tripody basically being a jack of all trades? Well, this is a master of one. It's focused entirely on rituals, and probably does it better than most of them. I'm not too sure how well Necroz is at this point. They had been kind of like nuffed to the ground for a while. But yeah, let's get into this. So, with the Cyber Angels, I was into them initially due to being one of the very few ritual decks that's playable. But I got even more into it due to, of course, Dual Links, because let's face it, this thing was insane and very fun. I'm still surprised by how powerful Dakini can be. Just non-targeting, non-destruction removal, so you can get around cards that are unaffected by every card. Always a unique interaction to see. But yeah, let's get into the most important ones, those being Binton and Edatin. So, if you do a ritual summon for Edatin using Binton, you will be able to get a search for any light fairy from your deck by tributing the Binton, and by summoning out Edatin, you can get a search for any ritual spell. Or a very good setup. So, let's say that's your opening play, you use, let's say, Absolute Ritual to summon out Edatin using the Binton, you get 2 searches, or a great advantage, and you search for Petite Angel. Normal summon Petite Angel, it in turn will search out one of the bigger monsters, Dakini or Izana, at which point you can use the Messine Angel Ritual that you search with Edatin, use Edatin and the level 2 Petite Angel, bring out one of these. You now either have a 3500 attack monster or a 3700 attack monster. One of which has the potential to attack twice, and the other one deals piercing damage. And you have Messine Angel Ritual in the graveyard, so you can banish this card if either of those were to be destroyed. Then you've got Vast, which is just hilarious against an extra deck. Face deck such as, well, Tripody. I can imagine that being hilarious. They bring out a bunch of monsters, you bring this out, destroy all of them, inflict 1,000 for each, and then it can attack twice because that wasn't enough damage. You now have to attack twice with a 3,000 or potentially 4,000 attack monster, depends on if you use Edatin. You've got most of Messine Angel as a great draw too, because not only does it, well, draw you 2 cards, but you also have to tribute a ritual monster, ritual monster, from your hand or field, meaning tribute an Edatin from your hand, you get the plus 1,000 attack. Tribute a Binton, you get a search for any light fairy, and no, that is not a once per turn on either of those. You can just keep using those. Yeah, it gets crazy. Dakini has recursion at the end of your turn. And this thing has a quick effect to shuffle a ritual monster from your graveyard into the deck to destroy one card on the field in response to a Cyber Angel being targeted. So it doesn't negate the effect of the card that targets a Cyber Angel, but it's still recurring resources, and you're getting to take resources from your opponent. Speaking of taking, Natasha literally takes, because if it's been properly summoned and sent to the graveyard, you can banish another Cyber Angel monster from your graveyard, revive this, and take control of one monster your opponent controls. Interesting, and on top of that, while it has 1,000 attack, if your opponent will attack any ritual monster, including this one, you can just negate it. And once per turn, target a monster you control, gain life points equal to half its attack. Yeah, still kind of crazy. You can just keep gaining life points, your opponent can't attack, so you can drag it on for a bit. Great consistency, even without being in the incantations, which just boosts the consistency even more. Not to mention, Ritual Sanctuary can just revive either a Petite Angel or Egg Angel for additional searches, while also putting the spell cards back in the deck so you can search them out again with Angel. Well, either of the angels. And also, it allows you to get more than one use out of a terraforming. And Monster 1, so it's really good with spell cards, and just insane at getting out high attack monsters, which can just get even stronger, because like I said, Eater 10 is not hard once per turn. But yeah, that's all for number 9. Now, as you can probably tell from my profile picture, I'm a fan of Bagman. They were the first deck that I built. I enjoyed the playstyle, with the idea of just, let's face it, Short Circuit is an insane card. There was great potential for swarming. It could make use of some really good revival cards. You could keep reusing resources. And Industrial Strength was a very good boss monster. But it's mainly nostalgia that I like this deck. And it's very much, well, let's face it, it's power crept. So, instead, my number 8 on this list is Despot. Now, for clarification, when we're talking about Despot, we're exclusively talking about power. So, what better way to demonstrate this than with a little scenario? Now, in this scenario, all we need is 2 cards. All you need is 003 and Machine Duplication, and let's see how insane this can go. And for clarification, every single one of the Despots have 500 attack and defense by default. Interesting idea for a beatdown focus deck. Now as you can see, 003 on summon brings out a 002. 002 on summon lets you search out any Despot card. So let's go with 009. Like I said, all about 500 attack by default, and 002 does not boost its own attack, which is great because that allows for Machine Duplication to be used on it. By doing this, you bring out 2 more 002s. The search is not a hard one to return, so you can just bring out both of those, get 2 searches, which is great for the pendulums. For this situation, let's just go with 006 and 005. So the scales are 1 and 10. Bring those out. Pendulum summon out the 009. Already, just from using 2 cards, we got a complete field. Now, let's look at the attack values on the field. We got all 3 of the 003s at 1500 attack because they're getting 1000 from each other. But The other ones are getting 1500 for each. So both 003 and 009 are at 2000 attack. Now we use the effect of 003 on 009. This requires it to gain 500 attack and defense for each of the Despot cards that we have on the field. And that's 7. Which brought that up to 5500. Then we use the effect of 009 itself. And there we go. We got 12,000. That's insane. Now, this was just using 2 cards. Think about how this would be if we had a card like Despot Base in our hand. That would just... because that would be another Despot card on the field. It would make everything on the field gain 500 attack. So it would just keep making it more and more insane. And I'd like to note a few more things. 1. Limit removal is at 3. And all of these are machines. Then, gain to 009, if this card battles, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated until the end of the damage step. So, they can't stop it because that is an Ancient Gear effect. And finally, if this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy one Despot card you control instead. Meaning that if they were to try and destroy this before the battle phase, you can just destroy, let's say, 005 or 006. Because both these have floating effects. You see, if 005 is destroyed while in the Pendulum Zone, you can target a Despot monster in your graveyard and spell summon it. And with 006, if this card is destroyed from the Pendulum Zone, you can target a Despot card in your graveyard, add that to your hand. So both of them can grant you recursion. And if this card would be destroyed by battle, you can destroy another one instead. It is not a hard once per turn. So, you can just, let's say they try and destroy it, you get rid of a 003, they try to destroy it again, you get rid of 005 to revive 003 from the graveyard again, which would actually make it even worse because... yeah, that's all hard once per turn on that one, so you'd be able to use 003's effect again. You see how this gets insane, right? And yeah, this is definitely the spiritual successor to Batterymen. Even down to them being, rather mundane objects. Batterymen were, of course, batteries. Named after batteries like AA, AAA, 9-volt, that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, these, if you look at them, you got a pen, scissors, a stapler, a compass. Yeah, it's not exactly something that would be impressive, but in the way that it works, the attack value is insane. So yeah, that's why I really like Despots. They're really fun. Now for number 7, we've got a surprisingly recent TCG exclusive archetype, in which we got, FAs, also known as Formula Athletes, though I tend to refer to them as Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's the deck, because, look at this, it's just about synchro summoning and having a bunch of speed-based, vehicle-based cards, including, motorcycles, which is perfect for it. And the connection to 5Ds gets even better if you use Signal Warrior, as that card effectively makes all 3 of your field spells into Speed Ward, which is the card from the anime that let you remove speed counters in order to do effects. So Signal Warrior just puts the counters on itself and your field spell, making you gain counters really quickly. And you can use effects that like inflict 800 burn, so a new Kazi, draw 1 card, not too bad, or to destroy 1 card in the field. So yeah, it's very fitting to use that in this deck. And Yeah, we've got 3 field spells in this deck. There's only, what, 2 other archetypes that can say that? Trickstar and Ghost Trick, I believe? Oh, right, Dry Mitch, forgot about that. But yeah, the entire gimmick with with the FAs is, for example, with the Hang On Mark, you've got 3 effects. You've got an effect in which okay, technically 4 effects. You got effect 1, which is it gains attack equal to 300 times its current level. They all start out at 0, and only 2 of them don't gain attack equal to the level. Those being Auto Navigator and obviously Shining Star GT, because that doesn't have levels. So, the first level, like I said, increases the attack, so it actually has attack. 2 is the ability, just a passive effect it has. So, for example, with this one, it's unaffected by the activated effects of monsters whose original level or rank is lower than this card's level. And then we got the third effect, which again applies to most of these, except for the 2 exceptions we already mentioned, which is every time an FA spell, trap card, or effect is activated, increase this card's level by 1. Which is really good with the card like Downforce, because the effect is to increase its level by 2. So use this, it automatically goes up to a 7, which is perfect because that's what the 4th effect is all about. If the level is 7 or higher, for example with this one, all cards your opponent sends to the graveyard get banished instead. So pretty much it's a Dark Law. And the same can be said for all of these, with the exception of Dragstore and the Extract monsters, of which Motorhome Transport is a very interesting one. So this is a Sync 9, and it has effect when it's level 11 or higher. Okay, just 2 level difference. But then there's one that works only when it's level 13 or higher. This is the only card, to my knowledge, that actually lists a level higher than 12 in the text. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. You know what's crazy? I got this thing up to level 20 before. Level 20 and gain 300 attack times its level. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Then we look at Shining Star GT, which gains attack equal to total levels of the FA monsters this card points to. So this was pointing to Motorhome and one of these other monsters that was at least level 7 at the time. Now, of course, it does have the restriction that it doesn't deal damage, which, given that scenario I just mentioned, is very much warranted. Yeah, that kind of concern is very much warranted. All of the spell cards, meanwhile, have a basic effect you can use from the field, but they also have a effect that you can banish it from the graveyard to use, but you cannot use at the same time they were sent to the graveyard. Honestly, a bit of a delay with this. Okay, once it gets started, it goes fast. It's just the getting started that's kind of slow. You'd expect for a racing deck to be a little bit better at starting. But yeah, that's the reason for some of the revival cards in here, especially the 3 copies of Magnet Reverse to bring back your Synchro, so you can like bring out a monster from the extra deck, then use that in another FA such as Navigator to bring out the link itself. Then you can use the Magnet Reverse to revive the Synchro monster you use from your graveyard. Yeah, kind of a roundabout way of making the link, but they're not really good at swarming. The only one that can actually have a swarming ability is really just Motorhome. And, well, Test Run, but that one has to be in the grave for you to do that. So, yeah, it's a fun deck. It's a very interesting Synchro deck. It has a great mechanic. It's just that it's a little bit slow, and as indicated by the fact that everything has 0 attack and need to rely on effects that have attack, any kind of monster negation, especially skill drain, just kills this deck from the very start. But then again, skill drain killing a deck is what you could say about every deck on this list. And now on to number 6, and it's safe to say that I'm a big fan of synchros, because now we're talking about scraps. Now scraps are very unique junkyard denizens, as, well, some of them are fragile. As indicated by a scrap sock, just dying whenever an effect is activated, or the, well known as a joke card, Scrap Kong, which gets destroyed if it's normal summoned. Yeah, a card is fragile when it dies from being played. Talk about dead on arrival. But yeah, the most interesting aspect about this is that them being destroyed actually helps you more than anything else. Because, well, as you can see, there's Scrap Factory, which means that when a scrap monster is destroyed, you can special on a scrap monster from your deck, such as Golem, which is very much the playmaker of the deck. And then we also want Supply Squad, because, hey, you're destroying them anyway. Might as well get even more draw power off it. Works great with Scrap Storm, because that one it's destroy a scrap monster, send a scrap from your deck to the graveyard, then draw one card. So, destroy a scrap monster to do a Foolish Burial and to draw one. That's already great. Especially given that Scrap Sock would die from that anyway, even if it wasn't targeted. And the newest card is Scrap Wyvern, which, similarly to the Field Spell, states that if a scrap monster is destroyed, you can special on a scrap monster from your deck and then destroy one card on the field. Meaning that you can destroy one of your opponent's cards as well, or destroy another one of your scrap monsters that have a good floating effect. Now, all of these of course have floating effects, as I mentioned. Well, the ones that have self-destruct effects do that, so Golem doesn't. Now, Scrap Sock is a Foolish Burial when it's destroyed. The best target for that is of course Satchel or a Tuner if you don't have that out yet. But then again, there's Scrap Yard just as such the tuners, so it's situational as to whether or not that would be necessary. And here's the interesting thing about Satchel. First off, despite the name, it searches nothing. What it does do, however, is if a scrap monster is, well, not if, when, so it misses timing occasionally. Yeah, it's definitely a 5D's era deck. But yeah, back to the effect. When a scrap monster you control, except itself, is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon the Satchel from your graveyard. Okay, really good for getting monsters on the board, can help with summoning out the Link monster. But what's this other effect? When upon being revived, destroy all face-up monsters you control except for scrap monsters. You know what, that's fun? Scrap Golem can special summon scrap monsters to your opponent's side of the field. So, special summon Satchel and attack position to your opponent's side of the field. You now just Raigeki their board, leaving them with a 100 attack level 1, which you can easily just attack over. So, that's even more interesting. And yeah, I use Loop of Destruction because all while doing destruction, might as well add some burn damage to it. And because it is a synchro deck, let's get into the extra deck. Scrap Archfiend doesn't have an effect. It is not worth talking about. Then we got Scrap Dragon and Scrap Trend Dragon, which can, both of them have the basic premise of the effect, which is target one card you control and Then target 1 or 2 cards your opponent controls. You destroy your card you targeted, preferably another scrap monster so you can get a floating effect. And then, with Scrap Dragon, you destroy the card you targeted on the opponent's field, or with Trend Dragon, you return those targeted cards to your opponent's hand. So, bounce 2 or destroy 1. Both very good options. And if your opponent were to destroy either of these by a battle or card effect, the great part is, you can then revive any non-synchro scrap monster from your graveyard, including the Link. Hence why it has the arrow on the side. Yeah, honestly, really good, very interesting, and surprisingly counterintuitive. Like I said, the entire idea of most of these is they have to be destroyed by the effect of a scrap card and sent to the graveyard. So it's interesting that Scrap Shuttle not only doesn't such, it doesn't even destroy scrap monsters, it does the opposite of that. Destroy non-scrap monsters. Though, to be fair, it is a monster effect activating, so regardless, it would destroy Scrap Shock. But then again, Monster Reborn kills Scrap Shock. Terraforming kills Scrap Shock. Pyro Clock of Destiny can kill Scrap Shock. It's the weakest card ever. But still, a very good card in the deck. Which I still find hilarious because cards that would be terrible in general are actually good in this deck. As you can see, I actually won Kong because if you have Supply Squad, Scrap Factory on the field, those kind of cards, and you know someone Scrap Kong, so it's going to get destroyed. But you're going to recover a Scrap Monster from your graveyard to your hand, draw a card, and bring out Golem from the deck. It gives you advantage from using a junk card, and I mean that in both sense of the word. So yeah, Scrap is funny just due to how counterintuitive it is. We're now halfway through the list with number 5, and we have Cubics. Cubics are similar to Despot, another high attack OTK deck focused entirely on Crimson Nova right here. But it's very different from Despot as well. You see, let's just start by going through the effects of Crimson Nova. Must be special from your hand by revealing 3 other cubic cards in your hand with different names. Cannot be special by other ways. Unaffected by monsters' active effects whose original attack is 3,000 or less. And when this attacking card destroys a monster by battle, activate this effect. It can declare a second attack this battle phase. Okay, so it's a 3,000 attack monster that has decent protection against monsters and can attack twice. Okay, that's to be expected from some kind of beatdown deck. But what's this last effect? Each player takes 3,000 damage during your end phase. Fortunately, that part is a hard one to return, because if not, summon out 3, end your turn, kill both players. Perfect. Anyway, yeah, the idea with this is that it pretty much gives the duo a countdown, because you both have 8,000 life points to start out with, and you're going to constantly take 3,000, which is practically half, during each end phase. So your opponent has a limited window of time to actually deal with this. Not to mention it's 3,000 attack, gonna attack twice, they're gonna be guaranteed at least 3,000 damage due to the end phase effect. It's a big threat on the board. But you know what makes it even a bigger threat? Let's look at Cubic Karma. Target a cubic monster you control, and then send VJam the cubic seeds from your hand or deck to the graveyard. That monster gains 800 attack for each sent. So, if you send all 3 VJams, it's going to gain 2400 attack, meaning this is now a 5400 attack monster that can attack twice. That's dangerous. Then we factor in Cubic Wave. Cubic Wave has the amazing effect of target 1 cubic monster you control when face up monster your opponent controls. The attack of the cubic monster becomes double its current attack. Not original attack, current attack. So going back to that scenario where this thing has 5400 attack, it's now 10,800 attack and can attack twice. And what happens to your opponent's monster? Your opponent's monster's attack becomes half its current attack. For the record, not a hard one to turn either. Yeah, okay, for clarification, Cubic Lord is your plan A. You rarely get to use plan B, because plan A tends to make it go really fast. But if you do get into a situation where you can use plan B, use plan B. You use cards such as the Cubic Seed and Dooza, which is a really great... Is there a tone for Foolish Spirit? Oh yeah, Armageddon Knight effect. So, if you have these cards on the field, you can use them as tribute fodder for the beasts and the kings. Now, each of the beasts and kings they take tributes equal to 1 less than their level. So these level 2s take 1 tribute. And these low level ones tend to be kind of weak. So this one deals 800, gains 800 attack. Yeah, 800 attack monster. Not much. And if this card is special from the hand, inflict 800 damage to your opponent. Again, kind of minuscule. And what's this? The 1000 attack one can... Yeah, the 1000 attack one is reliant on destroying a monster by battle in order to pull off its effect. Whereas the Cubic Kings just have to have attacked. You know, they had to have been in a damage step. But from then, they just do the same effect. They can be tributed to bring out 2 V-Gems from your graveyard that are 2 compared to the 1 tribute that they take. And then they can search for the monster that's 1 level up. So, Garnex can search for Blade Garuda, and Guile searches for Vulcan Dragini. Or Dragni. Which in turn, when they have double the attack of the previous one, so this one's 1600 compared to 800, and this one's 2000 compared to 1000. They still have the same requirements to pull off the effect, but if they pull off the effect, you can tribute them, especially on 3 V-Gems from your graveyard, which would be tribute fodder for the final chains. You know, the final monsters in these chains. Such as Behemoth, which has 3000 attack, can make a second and third attack each battle phase. And if this is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, by battle or card effect, you can target any 3 cubic monsters in the graveyard, special on them. Yeah. It's a really good revival effect if it's destroyed. And 3000 attack monster can attack 3 times, not just 2. This could potentially be better than Crimson Nova. It just have to go through more steps to get it. And then there's Cubic Emperor, which has 2400 attack. When special from the hand, inflicts 800 damage to your opponent. And if this card in your possession would be sent to your graveyard by your opponent's card effect, by battle or card effect, you can target up to 3 cubic monsters of grave, special on them, and add 1 cubic card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So pretty much the same thing as the... Oh yeah, that one also has the recursion of a card, the search or recursion card. So yeah, for most part the effects are the same. It's just that the Emperor and the Kings deal burn damage, while the Behemoths and the Beasts just deal more straight up damage. So you can either just go for plan A, which is simple, straightforward, or you can go with plan B, which is a lot more complicated and has recall monsters being up to monsters that could potentially be equal to Crimson Nova. And of course there's plan C, which you're never going to do, which is you need unification of the Cubic Lords and 3 copies of Crimson Nova, the Dark Cubic Lord. You use the trap card to fuse all 3 of them together. You bring out Crimson Nova Trinity, the Dark Cubic Lord. Now that's insane. And it cannot be targeted, cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects at all. It has 4,500 attack, 3,000 defense. If this card declares an attack, cut your opponent's life points in half. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, it can attack again. And if you take effect damage, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the damage you took. This is insane. Would be even crazier if you had Nova on board. You're probably not going to do that, however, because you had to use too many resources to bring that out. But if you did, yeah, you won't have to get to that point. You'd have a 45 attack monster and a 3 attack monster, which can attack twice and 1 half your opponent's life points every time it attacks. If you get to plan C, you don't need to go any further. That's simple. So yeah, this had a really good showing in the Dark Side of Dimensions movie by Igami, aka Diva. That being said, he did lose in the movie. He didn't get a single win, but hey, the deck is very... You see the artwork, it's creative. It's insanely creative. And that's a really cool beatdown / burn mechanic. More aggressive than, say, Trickster or other burn decks like Chain Burn. You get to do burn damage, but at the same time, you still have good monsters in play. Well, that went on for a while. Now for number 4, Sylvans. So, Sylvans, I tend to refer to these as Lightrons, but with less risk. Well, you see, Lightrons just mill a deck and don't care what the card was that you milled. Whereas with Sylvans, you excavate the card, and if it's a plant, or in the case of Princess Sprite, a spell trap card, or in the case of Sylvan High Protector, the card you declared, depending on if it meets any of that criteria, depending on the card you used to mill, you will send it to the grave. So it's not just send any card to the grave, it's only plant for the most part. And that is useful because, well, you can run cards like Monster Reborn, 1-for-1, all these other cards, and you don't have to worry about milling them, because if you excavate them, they're just going to go back to the bottom of your deck. Which is preferable to sitting in the graveyard and not have any means of recovering spell trap cards. I mean, sure, you got Sage Courier, but that only recovers Charity, Sylvania, and Blessing. Or at least in this deck, there are all other spell trap cards. And, as you can see, all the ones in this deck have some kind of benefit when they're in the graveyard. Well, except for Lone Flower Blossom, but if you send Peacekeeper, it can spell summon any level 4 lower plant from your graveyard. So, best scenario is just summon Lone Flower Blossom, use its effect, bring out, let's say, Hermit Tree. You then use the effect of Sylvania or any kind of card that likes to stack your deck, or you just get really lucky. You send Peacekeeper from your top of your deck to the graveyard. So you draw a card due to Hermit Tree's effect, and then Lone Flowers will be able to be revived because of Peacekeeper's effect. Then you can just use Lone Flower again to bring out another tree. Yeah, Lone Fire is already a great card in a plant deck, but in Sylvans, they have inherent ways of reusing it. And yes, there was quite a bit of high attack monsters, hence the inclusion of Rose Level for a very simple summon. Glow Up Bulb for, and as well as Spore for single options, though you can use Spore for its level manipulating effect to bring out an Xyz. Though, yeah, Glow Up Bulb could also work for Princess Sprite, but both of them are once per duo effects, so it just depends on what you think is more important to use them for. And also because they were high level, high attack monsters, Rose Bear of Revelation is a really good card. Used to use Rose Paladin, however it's not a plant, so it tended to get in the way. Now it's entirely plant, which is really good for synergy, and just very helpful. And I really like the boss monster of this deck. As far as I'm concerned, the boss monster is Oya. You see, there's two important effects with this. So, one, you can send a plant-type monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard. Look at a number of cards from the top of your deck equal to that card's level. Hermitry is an 8. So you can now look at the top 8 cards of your deck and put them in any order you want. That's a lot of control. And then, after you have stacked your deck, you can detach a material, choose a number between 1 and 3, excavate that many cards from the top of your deck, send the excavated plants to your graveyard, and then, if you do, return that many cards from the field to the hand, except this card. And also place the other cards that were excavated to the bottom of the deck in any order. Yeah, so you can stack the deck using the top 8 cards, or 7 cards. Those are the two most likely. And then, because you now set it up so that there's going to be useful plants at the top of your deck, you can use the secondary effect, get rid of 3, which might be useful at the time. I can think of several, such as Cosmos Rumo for Spell Trap removal, Marshal Leaf for monster removal, or any of these for, yes, the graveyard effects. And on top of that, you can just shuffle into the deck, or we bounce to the hand, yeah. And no, it doesn't even target. So, non-targeting, you got really good removal, you trigger a bunch of effects, you get to stack your deck. One of the most interesting things about this deck, it's just the fact you can stack it in a way that's not like cheating, which is funny. And as you can see, Polynosis, which is just a really good counter trap. If you to stop a normal summon, a special summon, or a spell trap card. Yeah, stops quite a bit, about as much as a summon card would, without any life point cost, instead of just using up a monster that might want to be in the graveyard. So yeah, how many decks actually utilize the excavation mechanic? It's mainly just this and Giskies. So yeah, I really like this deck just because of how unique it is, and there's not many plant decks. With number 3, we have one of the mini decks, which Yugi Moto is responsible for. This being Blackluster Soldier. Had a very interesting debut in the anime when he used it against My Valentine and her, I think she had Hoppy's Pet Dragon on the field. And that summoning tends to be referenced a lot by the fact that Kuribo and Guy the Fierce Knight are very much tied into the archetype just because they were the materials used. As you can see, Severe Kuribo was clearly intended for this due to it just being a level 1 that you can banish from the graveyard for a ritual summon. Which fits great with Arisen Knight, which is a level 7 that can be banished from the graveyard for the ritual summon of a Blackluster Soldier. Yeah, though very much just for this deck. However, as you can see, I'm not weighing them on the deck because they'll kind of... It's kind of difficult to build Blackluster Soldier because they just need more support. I would say more than any other deck on this list, Blackluster Soldier needs support. Yes, they got a link, but they'll not even focus on the extra deck, so that doesn't help them that much. And also, Gaia is just confused as far as an archetype is concerned. It has every kind of extra deck monster, but at the same time, it doesn't do much on its own. But yeah, getting back on track, Blackluster Soldier, you got two different ones, the Super Soldier and Blackluster Soldier. Despite being a Chaos focused deck, both of them are Earth for some reason. I kind of wish they had modernized that to fit with the Chaos theme. I mean, they did it with Gaia, and that worked out. So, the idea is that you don't really rely on the effects of Blackluster Soldier themselves, except because this one doesn't have effect. But the funny thing is, Beginning Night and Evening Twilight Night. You see, when these are used for the summon of a Blackluster Soldier ritual monster, they grant the effects of their respective monsters. So for Beginning Night, it grants the effects of Envoy of the Beginning, whereas Evening Twilight Night grants the effects of Envoy of the Evening Twilight. Kind of straightforward. Meaning that if you use both of these to summon the regular Blackluster Soldier, you now have a Blackluster Soldier that's a non-effect monster, but it has 4 effects. That being, basically twice per turn, you can target a monster your opponent controls by asset, because both these grant that effect. And then you can just make your opponent... Well, you can pass a random card from your opponent's hand face down until the next end phase. And then with the other effect of Beginning Night, it's now against the double attacking of Envoy of the Beginning. So you can make Blackluster Soldier a double attacker that can pass 2 cards from the field and 1 from the hand. Still being a non-effect monster, by the way. That's hilarious. Oh, what's even better? Super Soldier Synthesis. That's difficult to say. Super Soldier Synthesis. Super Soldier Synthesis is a ritual spell that can summon any Blackluster monster from your hand or graveyard, that part's important, by sending a light or 1 dark monster from your hand and 1 from your deck. So, exactly 1 light monster and exactly 1 dark monster. Finally, this works perfectly, so you just need 1 of these in your hand, such as by reinforcements or by the effect of Super Soldier Soul. They love a little ace in this deck, which in turn will allow you to just special one from the graveyard, and the special one from the graveyard is great because of trade-in. You can get draw 2, send it to the graveyard. That doesn't stop anything. You can seriously use this, and get rid of Chaos is a great way of searching out either any Gaia the Fierce Knight monster or any Blackluster Ritual monster as soon as it's activated. And also, each time a monster card is sent from the hand or graveyard, you place a counter on this for each of those cards. Maximum 6. Once per turn you can remove 3 spell counters from this card. Add 1 ritual spell from your deck to your hand. Wish there was more graveyard recovery, especially given that it's kind of tight on space. I can't think of any cards to remove at this point, so I can't really put in the incantations I can recover from the graveyard. But yeah, the consistency in theory is pretty good. As you can tell, it's not like that in practice because I had to use the 3 cards of Part of Extravagance just to try and get them in my hand consistently. But beatdown wise, Envoy of the Chaos is like an honest, because it can make any Gaia the Fierce Knight monster or Blackluster Soldier gain 1500 attack until the end of this turn. So not just for that battle. What's going to work great with either Envoy of Beginning or a Blackluster Soldier summon via Beginning Night as they re-attack twice, and they'll gain the attack boost. So yeah, really good in general. I am a fan of virtual decks. I just wish there was a little bit more of them. And yeah, I'd say it's okay. Needs support, especially the Gaia aspect of it. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this one. And now for the honorable mention. The only honorable mention we have in this video is Aliens. Fairly old deck, but it has gone a really good modern support. It was originally released in the GX era, I believe, but then got better in the Synchro era with the inclusion of, I believe that's when they got Warrior and a lot more of the ones that gain 300. Well, they don't gain. Make your opponent lose 300 attack and defense for each A counter. As well as the most important ones being Gogol and Ammonite. Ammonite is an amazing tuner. Not much else to say. There's no drawbacks to it at all. The entire thing is a reptile deck. So Danger Tsusanoko is pretty useful as an additional summon and potentially a draw 1. Especially given that the Link monster that they received just takes any reptile monsters. Which also makes Kage to Kage a really useful card as well. It's very much the best counter deck I can think of. I mean, spell counters might be better, but that's just due to the amount of support, and they have 2 archetypes using them. But I don't really know that much about these spell counters, so I just like how diverse the effects are with this. You got Code A Ancient Ruins, which uses A counters for revival. Gogol uses A counters for removal. And then you got Hypnosis, Brainwashing Beam, and Hypno, which use their effects to steal. Mars uses its effect to negate, and Telepath uses the counters to remove spell and trap cards from the field. And there's plenty of cards that has place counters, such as Dog, Overlord, Recombination Device, Planet Pollutant Virus, and Kid. And of course, Scatterbust. There's a lot of methods of how to build this. And the inclusion of the 1 normal monster is surprisingly useful. But the thing that I find weirdest to me is that the way the counters work, you have to have a monster with the stat reduction effect, such as Overlord, Warrior, Telepath, or Kid. Otherwise, the counters don't do anything inherently, as opposed to, say, cubic counters. Or, I guess, pedal counters? I can't remember off the top of my head how they work. But yeah, the idea with these is that those pretty much make all your alien monsters beat sticks. The problem is, a lot of the really good ones don't do that. For example, Dog, really good card, doesn't do it. Mars doesn't do it. Ammonite, doesn't really matter if it did it, it won't stay on the field. Gogol isn't even an alien card, so even if there was the effect, it wouldn't gain it. And Alien Shock Trooper, or Mighty Flame, or whatever name they're going to give it when it gets you in the TCG, doesn't have it, which it's the most modern card. Maybe they just ran out of space. But then I think Overlord might have a... No, this definitely has more text on it. But yeah, I just found it weird that the most modern one doesn't even have the stat reduction effect on it. You would think that of all cards would. But yeah, it's a reptile deck. It has a lot of diverse playstyles you can use with it. It's definitely one of those that I think has varied enough effects that they can deal with most situations without resorting to outside support. You got back row removal. You got easy special summons. You got negation. But yeah, in general, the best playstyle I can think of is just using Brainwashing Beam, playing viruses like Geki, but with an additional effect. Or would it be more accurate to say that's a torrential tribute? I'm not sure which one's more accurate. Mysterious Triangle is a great destruction / specimen from the deck card, which is kind of weird that only specifies 4. It has to be a level 4 monster specifically. So, Kid, Warrior, Telepath, those, or Hunter, I suppose, those work fine. But it would be great if you could specify Mars once you have it so that, that would be a great surprise on your opponent's turn. So, like, use Recombination Device or use a Potent Virus to make it so that all your opponent's monsters will have counters. Then you surprise them with Mars after destroying one of their cards that had a counter. That would be insane, but for some reason they decided to lock this up to only 4. Weird, I don't get it. And now, at number 2 on the list, we have Playmaker's Code Talker monsters from Veins. Again, a very recent one. But at the same time, I really like how the Code Talkers work, because at first, we just had the... Oh, wait, I'm not even running in the main deck. Decode Talker. It's stuck in the side deck because it's not really that useful. But yeah, we got Decode Talker, then we end up getting Encode, then Xcode, then I believe it was Power Code, which was a good semblance that there was going to become an archetype out of this. Well, the main one that told me that was Recode Alive and Limit Code being really good cards to bring out specific Code Talker monsters. But then once you got Transcode Talker, it became really good because then we can revive any of the Code Talker monsters from the graveyard, and had the additional benefit of having this co-linked monster and the monsters it's co-linked with gain 500 attack and also make them immune to card effects. Well, card effect targeting, that is, from your opponent. And the only drawback is you can only summon Cyberse monsters, which, well, that's what your deck is. The inclusion of Inverted Code Talker and the regular Code Talker made it very beneficial, as you can use either of those, bring out an additional monster, make Transcode Talker, which can then revive either the Code Talkers to continue link plays. Really good ideas going on, and Decode Talker, we've got its own replacement in the form of Extended. Still has the same arrows, which isn't exactly that useful because obviously the main idea with a deck like this, with these kind of arrows, would be to go for an extra link, but that's just one option. Given how much Xcode and Transcode boost attack, and even Encode Talker and Power Code are good at that as well, you can... Oh yeah, Shooting Code. Forgot about Shooting Code. That one can attack monsters equal to the number of monsters this card points to. +1. And at the end of the battle phase, you can draw one card for each card destroyed. So, it's a very good idea to attack with this thing. And even better, those attacks are guaranteed to go through because of Optimize, preventing it effectively makes all of them Ancient Gills. Very useful. And here's the other thing about Optimize. It can give you a normal summon for free. Well, it restricts you to only specifying Cyberse monsters from the extra deck. Yeah, that's a restriction. So you got your regular normal summon, you got Optimize, which can give you additional normal summon, but then you got Bannerlord, which can also give you additional normal summon. You can have 3 normal summons in 1 turn. I can't think of many decks that can do that. Alright, then as far as consistency, we got Lady Debug and Signet Mining, which are really good when it comes to Suturas for Sidewars. But then we've got the code. I'm not sure what you would refer to these as. The only thing they have in common is the code in their name. So you got X-Portal, Microcodal, Radiator, and Generaid. So the idea with all of these is that they correspond to a code token monster with the same attribute, and they have a different effect for when they're used from the hand or used from the field for a link summon. Microcodal, I'd say, is even better when used from the hand than used from the field, because when used from the hand, you can just add 1 Signet Spell Trap card from your deck to your hand, meaning instant access to Codec, an amazing such card, Optimize, which I already discussed, Backdoor, which is really good, especially when combined with a card like Bannerlord, which gives you an additional effect if it's banished, and of course Signet Mining, or even more interesting, Signet Conflict, one of the best counter traps in the game, in my opinion, of course. You just have so much you can do with this deck. Not to mention Claudia on summon can return any Sidewars monster from your graveyard to your hand, allowing you to use the effects of Codals. Clock Wyvern is the wind monster I was using before X-Portal came out. And Wyvern gives you a token, so that was fairly useful for the synchro link plays. And we also have Full Mud Skipper, which was initially used to search out Degrade Buster and Sim Tableau. But now it can work great with X-Portal because that's now level 5. Looks really good in general. Now, here's the one thing I don't like about this deck. Trying to build it in real life. So, this one was, I want to say, Flames of Destruction. I might be wrong. Might have been a structure deck. Then we got, or maybe it came out in both. You've got Degrade Buster, which was also from a main set. You've got Microcodal and I think it was Codec, which are coming with the video game as promos. That they're not even available in the game, which just makes it even weirder. So yeah, it's just like, this is an expensive card. A lot of these are just from structure decks, starter decks, main series sets, in between sets like Fist of the Gadgets, and then there's the cards like X-Portal, Inverted Code Toggle, and Code, well, we're getting Code Toggle, but seriously, Inverted Code Toggle and Code X-Portal. I have no clue when we're going to end up getting those cards, because they're just being spread out so much, and given how the idea is at the moment, there's going to be one for every attribute. There's still going to have to be a, let's see, we got water, wind, earth, and dark. There's still fire and light. So the one for power code and the one for encode. Which would be great because maybe it'll make power code a little bit more worth summoning. Because power code, I like the effect, but at the same time, it's the one that takes exactly 3 monsters as opposed to being able to be summoned with a link monster to make it easier. Though, to be fair, you can always just like seed it out with Signet Storm, but that relies on luck. And now, finally, number 1, my number 1 favorite deck. I'm not going to say archetype because, yes, I'm fully aware that this is not an archetype, it's a series. But that being said, when they were used by Win in the Arc 5 manga, they were treated as an archetype. Granted, the name for the archetype they used was just white, which be kind of funny if they did treat it as an archetype when it was brought to the actual game, because then I'd be able to build Blue Eyes White Fist, apparently. Yeah, that would be hilarious. And actually work because of all the level 8 monsters and a means of searching alternative. That would be funny, but at the same time, no, it's not an archetype. It'd be weird if it was treated as an archetype, but at the same time, it is my favorite deck. As you can tell, I like synchros, but yeah, if you really think that this doesn't count, we move this from the list, move Code Talker to the number 1 spot, and have Alien be number 10. So yeah, just move everything up one, add in aliens. And yeah, that's the reason I talked about the honorable mention before the second spot, just to fit better with that. Anyway, so all of these are Water Fist monsters. There's only 2 main deck monsters, one of which I barely even won because it's not that great. It's a 600 attack monster that on normal summon can just be able to attack your opponent directly. And only for the turn it was normal summoned. And if it's revived from the graveyard, it can be treated as a tune-off for that turn only. Doesn't even special itself. At least Stingray has a nice means of specialing itself, and the discarding a water monster from your hand to special it is even better because it can work with Nimble Angler. As you can see, I'm using a lot of outside support in this deck, and barely any spell cards. Actually, that probably applies to some of the other ones on this list. Everything except for FA, I suppose. Now, the most important card of this deck is Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth. Yes, you can just say this is Coelacanth.deck, because it's the boss monster of the deck. It's the entire focus of the playstyle. But that being said, it's a great boss monster, so yeah, I'm going to stick with it. Now, Coelacanth, actually, I have the replay on this channel, so see it in the card here or linked at the end of the video. Now, it's a very interesting deck. White Well is really crazy. On Synchro Summon, it's a Mirror Force. And it can attack twice on monsters. And it deals piercing damage. And if this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can banish one other water monster from your graveyard, special it, and if you do, treat it as a tunnel. What's the relevance of that? So you can bring out Bahamut. Yeah, the TCG name is a lot easier to go with. So with Bahamut, it just takes a tunnel synchro monster and any other non-tuner monsters. Unlike other ones, it's not specific about the other one being a synchro. So technically you can just use this and any of the nimble monsters to bring that out. So that is fairly useful. And it actually makes sense for it to be a tunnel. And the reason Coelacanth works better in this deck is because just discard a card, special as many level 4 lower fist monsters you want from your deck. They just can't attack, and their effects are negated. But here's the thing. That works perfectly because you can just use them for Link and Synchro Material. Link summon out Miss Starboy, then use the remaining monsters, preferably like Stingray and Royal Swamp Eel, which due to the color scheme does fit as a white Aura card. Use those two, bring out White Aura Whale. You now have both this and Coelacanth on the field, plus Miss Starboy, so both these are getting 500 attack. So you got 2 300 attack monsters, one of which can attack twice, one of which has a protection effect by triggering another fist to protect itself. And White Aura Whale can just keep reviving itself. And if Miss Starboy gets destroyed, you can just recover a card like Swamp Eel or Stingray from your graveyard. It is really efficient. very much a synchro combo heavy deck. But that's the exact kind of deck that I like, and this is the one that can handle the extra deck restriction of Mastery for the best. Because here's the thing, Coelacanth works great in this deck because of two specific cards. If your opponent destroys White Fist Salvage, you can special on this Coelacanth from the deck because it can special out any fist you want. And additionally, you can use actually, here's a great thing to do. Use the effect, discard a card, bring out 4 fist monsters, use Coelacanth itself plus a few other ones to bring out, let's say, Saryuja or another Link monster. And then just make sure you have a level 3, such as Ultra, which is the only level 3 we have, plus a level 4 non-tuner. Use those to bring out Mono Ceros, which in turn, upon Synchro Summon, lets you target a fist in your graveyard special on it. But it cannot attack this turn, so not much of a restriction. Because it special summons any fist regardless of level, you can just revive Coelacanth. And because Coelacanth is not a hard one's return, you can just use its effect again to swarm the field again, so it can perform even more Synchro Summons, such as, let's say, an Ultra, a Sunfist, and an Angler. A 3 plus a 2 equals 5, plus a 4, you got 9, which equals Tristler. It's great. And here's the funny thing. White Howling. If you control a water monster, target a spell card in your opponent's graveyard, banish it. And if you do, for this turn, negate all spell effects on your opponent's field. I used this one time when Eevee started using Sky Striker. That was fun. And I used it another time when I went up against his what was it? Mythical Beast deck. Yeah, that was even more amusing. So yeah, this card has the potential to be very powerful. Granted, the artwork of White Howling and White Fist Salvage have nothing to do with fists. One's a graveyard, other one shows a wolf. I mean, so you could say that's Finwall, which is a water monster, which kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's still weird. But yeah, that's my top 10 favorite, I'm still going to say archetypes, in the game. So yeah, that's all for this time. Thanks for watching.